Hello and welcome to another Frenchic's Top Tip video. I'm Craig Phillips, the brand ambassador. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you can improve the coverage of porous surfaces when you come to paint them, like this one. It's an MDF bespoke shelving unit that I've built. And anyone who's painted MDF before knows there's a lovely smooth side on both sides, and then any cut edges, whether it's a manufactured edge or the cut that you've done and sanded it down, it's still very porous on here. Now don't worry, there is a solution for it. It's Frenchic's finishing coat. Now those of you who are familiar using Frenchic's products, they'll know that finishing coat is normally applied at the end when the paint is dry for that extra protection. However, this time I'm going to be applying the finishing coat first, certainly on these porous edges here to seal them, as well as the screw holes that I've got all the way along here. These sections that I've cut and placed in there to be able to put my shelves on, I've had to screw them in, countersink the screws, which has left me with a hole. I've applied some filler on there, I've let it dry, and I've given it a little bit of a sanding down using 150 grade sandpaper. I'm just giving it a quick tickle across all the edges, as well as the two sides where I filled over my screw holes. It's had a chance to dry, so I'm sanding that down to make it as smooth as possible. Now it's ready to seal. Don't forget to wear your dust mask while sanding. But once you've completed that, get a damp cloth and wipe down all the dust and make sure your area is dust free and dry. So I'm going to use the finishing coat neat out of the jar. I'm going to pour a small amount into a little plastic container, and then I'm using a brush to apply it on the cut edges. You can apply it on with a paintbrush or a roller. It's quick and easy to do. When it's wet, it looks like a white milky consistency, but it dries transparent. So now I'm going to use a small radiator roller and apply it on the side to cover up the filler over my screw holes. I've got a small bit there in a tray. Make sure you get plenty of that on your roller. You don't want to dowel your roller right the way into the finishing coat, just along the edge there. Now some people may get their brush and just, go over the actual filler like that, which is fine. What I'm going to do is just do one solid coat all the way across it. That way I know I'm going to get a smoother, even consistency when I apply the first layer of paint. I left this to dry overnight. When I touch that now, of course it's sealed it, but the edge where it's cut feels a little bit more rougher. So what you're going to need is some more sandpaper. This is even finer one now, it's 200 grit, and just give it a very gentle sand across there, all the way along it, and then we're going to apply a second coat of the finishing coat. Do the same, let that dry, a gentle little sand, then it's ready to paint, and it will be perfect. Whilst the edges is drying, I want to show you something. This is a piece of MDF. I've painted it, as you can see, 3 times. This area has had 1 coat, that's had 2 coats, and that's had 3 coats. Now that's looking quite acceptable on the smooth side. However, this cut edge along here isn't. 1 coat along there, it's absorbing in, it's very porous and rough. The second coat on there, it's absorbing in more, and you can still see it's patchy. The third coat, again, it's not acceptable. This would need 4 or 5 coats with sanding in between before you could get that acceptable. That is why we certainly need to seal the cut edges. I'm now ready to paint it with Frenchic's furniture paint, and I'm going to use Ivory Tower. I'll apply it on with a small paintbrush along all the cut edges, and then the large flat bit on the both sides and in the inside here, I'll be applying that on with a 4-inch roller, but then feathering it through with a larger paintbrush. Now Frenchic's brushes are designed a kind of a round oval shape, and they make it so much easier and quicker to paint awkward edges like this. Now of course we have sealed them, they've been sanded as well, so they're a lot smoother. Now I've applied this first coat on, it almost looks complete. Now as for the top flat smooth areas, I tend to apply the paint on using a 4-inch roller. However, you may see a little bit of a mottled effect, but that's not a problem. Just take your large paintbrush and feather the paint across. You're not applying any more on, you're just smoothing it out and flattening it down. Now all Frenchic paints are suitable for MDF, wood, laminate, metal and many other surfaces around your house without the need for prime. I did the same on the inside edges using the 4-inch roller first and then the brush to feather it through. My first coat of furniture paint has now dried, so I'm going to give it a gentle sanding again. This time it's an old piece of sandpaper, but it's a 120 grit. And I'm just going to give it a gentle little tickle all the way across all the edges, and then of course on the cut areas as well. And then wipe it down with the damp cloth to remove all the dust. Now if you come across a little edge like this where when I've had it turned over doing the underside, I've got a little bit of a drip on the edge there. It might have been from the roller or the brush that I haven't seen, but you don't want to leave it there. It does have to be removed. So I'm going to get a more rougher paper here. It's about a P60 grade, and that should just take that proud edge off where the drip is. Now my piece has had just over 2 hours to dry. I'm going to apply a second coat, again using the brush and roller. Frenchic Paint is the perfect traditional style chalk and mineral paint with minimum VOC content and virtually no odour. The paint I've used is Ivory Tower from the original artisan range. This would require sealing once it's dry with either finishing coat, tough top coat or one of Frenchic's waxes. And of course you could paint your MDF with one of Frenchic's other paints like Alfresco, the Lazy Range or even chalk wall paint, which are all hard wearing and wouldn't require sealing. So that's my MDF bespoke tower shelving unit now complete. Of course, I started off by sealing all the edges twice with the finishing coat before applying 2 solid coats of Frenchic's chalk paint. If you're looking for more how-to videos, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Frenchic TV. And if you're just looking for inspiration, join the Frenchic Fan Forum on Facebook. And of course, if you just want to know more about the products I've been using, check out the website, frenchicpaint.co.uk.